The stars above Nova Eden were beautiful that night. The colony had been home to 300,000 humans for almost 20 years. Children played in the streets of the capital city. Families sat down for dinner. Workers finished their shifts and headed home. Nobody knew that death was coming from the sky. Admiral Ho was on Earth when the first alarm came through. He was sitting in his office at the Naval Command Center, reviewing supply reports for the outer colonies. His coffee was still warm when his communication screen lit up with an emergency signal. "Admiral, we have a situation," said Lieutenant One, her voice shaking. "Nova Eden is under attack." Ho put down his coffee cup slowly. His heart started beating faster, but he kept his face calm. In 30 years of service, he had learned to never show fear in front of his crew. "Show me," he said. The screen changed to show a live feed from Nova Eden. Ho felt his stomach drop. Massive ships filled the sky above the colony. They were not human ships. Their design was curved and elegant, with purple lights running along their hulls. Ho recognized them immediately. They were warships. The Empire was one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. They looked down on younger species like humans. They called them primitive. They called them weak. But they had never attacked a human world before. Until now. Ho watched as the ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot down from the sky and hit the surface of Nova Eden. Buildings exploded. Fires spread through the streets. People ran and screamed, but there was nowhere to hide from weapons that could destroy whole city blocks in seconds. "How many ships?" Ho asked. His voice was quiet but hard. "At least 50 warships, sir," one replied. "Our defense satellites were destroyed in the first wave. The planetary shield went down 3 minutes ago." Ho closed his eyes for a moment. 50 warships against a colony that had only a small defense force. It was not a battle. It was a massacre. "Get me Director Hana," he said. "Now." Director Hana was the leader of Earth's government. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier before she became a politician, and she still thought like one. When Ho's call came through, she was already awake. She had been watching the same feeds. "I see it," Hana said before Ho could speak. "How bad?" "Very bad, Director. They hit the capital first. Casualty reports are still coming in, but we have lost at least 50,000 people in the first hour." Hana's jaw tightened. 50,000 human lives gone in 60 minutes. Mothers, fathers, children, all burned to ash by alien weapons. "Why?" she asked. "We have no conflict with we have barely even spoken to them." "I do not know, Director, but I intend to find out." On Nova Eden, the attack continued. The ships moved across the sky like hungry birds, dropping death wherever they went. The small human defense force tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the shields. Commander was in charge of the colony's defense. She was young for her position, only 32 years old, but she had earned her rank through hard work and skill. Now she was watching everything she had sworn to protect burn around her. "All units fall back to the emergency shelters," she ordered through her communicator. "Protect the civilians. That is our priority." Her soldiers obeyed. They gathered the survivors and led them to the underground shelters that had been built for emergencies like this. But the shelters could only hold so many people, and more were dying every minute. Stayed on the surface. She stood on a hill outside the capital and watched the destruction. Tears ran down her face, but she did not wipe them away. She wanted to remember this moment. She wanted to remember the anger she felt. "We will make them pay for this," she whispered. "Every single one of them." Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Within hours, every human in the galaxy knew about the attack on Nova Eden. People gathered in the streets, watching the feeds on public screens. Some cried. Some shouted in anger. Some stood in silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. Director Hana called an emergency meeting of Earth's government. The leaders gathered in the great hall of the World Assembly building. Their faces were grim. "We must respond," said Minister Sung Jin, the head of defense. "We cannot let this attack go unanswered." "But how?" asked Minister Bora, who was in charge of foreign relations. "They have one of the largest fleets in the galaxy. We are a young species. We only joined the galactic community 50 years ago." "So we should just accept this?" Sung Jin asked angrily. "We should let them kill our people and do nothing." "That is not what I said," Bora replied. "I am saying we need to be smart. We need to go to the Galactic Council. We need to demand justice through proper channels." Hana listened to her ministers argue. She understood both sides. Sung Jin was right that they needed to respond. Bora was right that they needed to be careful. They were powerful, and Earth could not afford to start a war it could not win. But something burned inside Hana, something old and deep. It was the same feeling her ancestors had felt when invaders came to their lands. It was the same feeling that had driven humans to fight against impossible odds throughout their history. "We will go to the council," Hana said finally. The room went quiet. "We will demand answers. We will demand justice. And if the council does not give us what we want." She paused and looked around the room. Every eye was on her. "Then we will find another way." The Galactic Council was the governing body of the civilized galaxy. It was made up of representatives from hundreds of species. They met in a massive space station called the Grand Assembly, which floated at the center of the galaxy. The station was ancient, built by species that no longer existed. It was a symbol of peace and cooperation. But for humans, it had never felt welcoming. When Earth first joined the galactic community, the older species had looked at them with amusement. Humans were young. Humans were primitive. Humans were not important. Earth's ambassador to the council was a man named Dong. He was tall and thin, with a calm face that rarely showed emotion. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, and he was very good at his job. But even he was struggling to stay calm as he watched the attack on Nova Eden. "This is an outrage," he said to his assistant, a young woman named Jin. "They attacked without warning, without cause. This is against every law of the council." "Will the council act?" Jin asked. Dong shook his head slowly. "I do not know. They have many allies. Many species owe them favors. The council may choose to look the other way." "Then what do we do?" Dong stood up and straightened his uniform. It was black with silver trim, the formal dress of Earth's diplomatic corps. "We make them listen," he said. "We make them see what was done to our people, and we make them understand that this cannot be ignored." The next day, Dong requested an emergency session of the council. His request was granted, though many of the alien delegates seemed annoyed by it. They had important matters to discuss, they said. Why should they stop everything to talk about one small human colony? When Dong entered the great hall of the council, he felt very small. The hall was enormous, with seats rising up in circles all around the central speaking platform. Thousands of alien faces looked down at him. Some were curious, some were bored, some were openly hostile. The representative was there, sitting in a place of honor near the front. His name was Lord, and he was one of the most powerful members of the council. He was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and silver eyes. He looked at Dong with a small smile on his face. Dong walked to the center of the platform and began to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he said, "I come before you today to report a crime, a terrible crime. Yesterday, the Empire attacked the human colony of Nova Eden without warning. As I speak, the attack continues. At least 100,000 of my people are dead." He paused to let the number sink in. 100,000 lives. To humans, that was a tragedy beyond words, but many of the alien delegates did not seem moved. "We demand justice," Dong continued. "We demand that the council condemn this unprovoked attack. We demand that they withdraw their forces and pay reparations to the families of the victims." Lord laughed. It was a soft musical sound, but it was full of contempt. "The human speaks of justice," he said. "How touching." The other delegates murmured. Some seemed uncomfortable, but many nodded in agreement with. "The colony of Nova Eden was built in space," continued. "Your people were told to leave. They refused. We simply enforced our borders." "That is a lie," Dong said, his voice rising. "Nova Eden was founded in unclaimed space. Your empire has no right to that system." "We have every right," replied. "We claimed that space 1,000 years before your species learned to make fire. Your colony was an insult, an invasion. We responded appropriately." The council chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted at each other. Some supported some called for calm. A few quietly supported the humans, but their voices were lost in the chaos. The Speaker of the Council, an ancient being from a species called raised a tendril for silence. "Enough," the Speaker said. "This matter will be referred to the Committee on Territorial Disputes. Until they make a ruling, both parties will maintain current positions." Dong felt his heart sink. The Committee on Territorial Disputes was known for taking years to reach decisions. By the time they ruled, everyone on Nova Eden would be dead. "This is not acceptable," Dong said. "Our people are dying right now. We need action today." The Speaker looked at him with something that might have been pity. "The Council has spoken, Ambassador. You may go." Dong stood alone on the platform. Around him, the alien delegates began to leave, already forgetting about the humans and their small tragedy. Lord walked past him, that same small smile on his face. "Go home, human," whispered. "There is nothing you can do." Dong watched him go. Then he turned and walked out of the great hall. Jin was waiting for him outside. "What happened?" she asked. "They refused to help," Dong said. "They do not care about us. We are nothing to them." Jin's face fell. "So it is over." Dong looked back at the doors of the council chamber. His calm face finally showed emotion. It was not sadness. It was not fear. It was something harder, something colder. "No," he said. "It is not over. It is just beginning. Contact Director Hana. Tell her the council has failed us. Tell her it is time for Plan B." On Nova Eden, the attack finally stopped. The ships pulled back and formed a blockade around the planet. 200,000 humans were dead. The survivors huddled in the underground shelters, waiting for rescue that might never come. Commander was still alive. She had gathered the remaining defense forces and led them into the mountains. From there, they watched the ships and waited. "What now?" asked one of her soldiers. Looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was preparing its response. She did not know what that response would be, but she knew her people. She knew what humans were capable of when they were pushed too far. "Now we wait," she said, "and we trust that our leaders will do what needs to be done." The soldier nodded. He was young and scared, but he trusted his commander. Far away on Earth, Director Hana received Dong's message. She read it twice, then set it down. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of fire. "They think we are weak," she said to Admiral Ho, who stood beside her. "They think we will accept this." "They are wrong," Ho replied. Hana nodded slowly. "Yes, they are very, very wrong, and they are about to learn just how wrong they are." She pressed a button on her desk. A hidden panel in the wall slid open, revealing a red lever. It was the activation switch for Project Hammer, Earth's secret weapon. "Are you sure about this?" Ho asked. Hana pulled the lever. "The galaxy wanted to know what humans are made of," she said. "Now they will find out." 3 days had passed since the attack on Nova Eden. 3 days of death and fire. 3 days of the galaxy watching humans suffer and doing nothing about it. Ambassador Dong had not slept in 2 of those days. He sat in his office on the Grand Assembly Station, watching the feeds from Nova Eden and reading the reports from Earth. The death toll had reached 250,000. The blockade was still in place. Survivors were running out of food and water in the underground shelters. And the Galactic Council still refused to act. Jin brought him a cup of tea. She looked tired too, with dark circles under her eyes. "You should rest, Ambassador," she said. "You cannot help anyone if you collapse." Dong took the tea but did not drink it. "I received a message from Director Hana. She wants me to address the council again." "But they already refused to help. What good will another speech do?" "This speech will be different," Dong said. He looked at Jin with hard eyes. "This speech is a warning." The great hall of the Galactic Council was full again. News had spread that the human ambassador had requested another session. Many delegates came out of curiosity. What could the humans possibly say? The matter was closed. The committee would make its ruling in a few years. That was how things were done. Lord was there again, sitting in his place of honor. He looked relaxed and confident. His people had crushed the human colony with ease. The council had done nothing. Everything was going according to plan. When Dong entered the hall, laughed softly. "The human returns," he said to the delegate beside him. "Perhaps he has come to beg." Dong walked to the center platform. He moved slowly and deliberately. His face showed no emotion at all. When he reached the center, he did not bow or greet the assembled delegates. He simply stood there in silence. The hall grew quiet. Something felt different about the human today. Something had changed. "3 days ago, I came before this council and asked for justice," Dong began. His voice was calm and clear. "You refused. You told me to wait for a committee. You told me that the death of 200,000 humans was not important enough to interrupt your schedules." Murmurs ran through the hall. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Since then, another 50,000 of my people have died. Children, elders, families who did nothing wrong except build homes on a world that they decided they wanted." Dong paused and looked directly at Lord. "I am not here to beg. I am not here to plead. I am here to deliver a message from the people of Earth." He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A holographic image appeared above his head. It showed Earth. Not the Earth that most aliens knew, the small blue world with limited technology. This image showed something else. It showed massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt. It showed thousands of warships under construction. It showed weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. The hall went completely silent. "For 50 years, humanity has been part of the galactic community," Dong continued. "For 50 years, you have looked at us with contempt. You called us young. You called us primitive. You said we were not worth your attention." He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We let you believe that. It was useful for you to underestimate us. But now the truth must come out." Lord stood up. His face had gone pale. "This is a trick, a bluff. The humans do not have this technology." "Is it a trick?" Dong asked. "Are you willing to bet your empire on that, Lord?" The hall erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded proof. Others accused the humans of lying. The speaker tried to restore order, but nobody was listening. Dong waited for the noise to die down. When it did, he continued. "The Empire attacked our colony without provocation. 250,000 humans are dead. This council chose to do nothing. Very well. We will handle this matter ourselves." "You cannot threaten us," said. His voice was loud but shaky. "The Empire has the largest fleet in this sector. We have allies across the galaxy. If you attack us, you will be destroyed." "Perhaps," Dong said, "but perhaps not. And here is what I know for certain. Even if we fall, we will take you with us. Every world will burn. Every ship will be destroyed. Your species will cease to exist." The hall was silent again. Every alien face was staring at the human with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "This is your only warning," Dong said. Withdraw your ships from Nova Eden. Pay reparations to the families of the dead. Surrender the officers who ordered this attack to face trial. You have 48 hours. Lord was shaking now. Whether from fear or anger, it was hard to tell. And if we refuse, he asked. Dong looked at him with eyes that held no warmth at all. Then you will learn why humans survived on a world that tried to kill them every day. You will learn why we became the dominant species on a planet full of predators. You will learn that we are not primitive at all. We are patient. We are clever. And when someone hurts our family, we are absolutely ruthless. He turned and walked toward the exit. 48 hours, he said over his shoulder. I suggest you use them wisely. Back on Earth, Admiral Ho was preparing for war. The secret shipyards in the asteroid belt were working at full capacity. Thousands of workers were loading weapons and supplies onto the hidden fleet. Director Hana stood beside him on the command deck of the flagship, the Earth's Fury. It was the largest warship humanity had ever built. 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, powered by engines that could push it to speeds that most aliens thought impossible. Dong delivered our message, Hana said. The Council knows about our fleet now. Do you think they will believe it? Ho asked. Some will not. It does not matter. Either the withdraw or we make them wish they had. Ho looked at the screens showing the fleet. 2,000 warships. It was not as large as the fleet, but it was larger than anyone had expected. And human ships had some advantages that alien ships did not. The crew is ready, he said. Morale is high. Everyone wants revenge for Nova Eden. Hana nodded. Revenge is good. It will keep them fighting. But make sure they understand the real goal. We are not doing this just for revenge. We are doing this so that no alien species ever thinks they can attack humans again. They will understand, Ho promised. On the Grand Assembly Station, the Council was in chaos. Emergency meetings were happening everywhere. Species that had ignored humans for 50 years were suddenly very interested in talking to them. The speaker met with Dong privately. The ancient being looked worried. Ambassador, the speaker said, you must understand the position you have put us in. If you attack it could start a galactic war. We did not start this, Dong replied. They attacked us, they killed our people, the Council did nothing. What would you have us do except our deaths quietly? The Council could still act, if you give us more time. You had time, you chose to do nothing. Now it is too late for the Council. This is between humanity and the speaker was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was soft. I have lived for many thousands of years, Ambassador. I have seen many species rise and fall. I thought I understood all of them, but humans are different. How so? Dong asked. Other species accept their place in the galaxy. They know when they are outmatched. They submit to stronger powers, but humans, you refuse to submit, even when you should, even when it would be logical. Dong smiled slightly. We call it stubbornness. It is both our greatest weakness and our greatest strength. The 48 hours passed slowly. On Nova Eden, Commander and her surviving soldiers waited in the mountains. They had managed to contact Earth and knew that help was coming, but they did not know if it would arrive in time. They had begun landing troops. Thousands of alien soldiers were spreading across the planet, searching for survivors. They showed no mercy. Anyone they found was killed on sight. Had managed to save about 5,000 civilians. They were hiding in caves deep in the mountains, protected by the small force of human soldiers. But supplies were running low, and they were getting closer every day. How much longer? Asked Jinwoo, her second in command. He was a big man with a face, a veteran of many small conflicts. Soon, said, Director Hana promised help is coming. Jinwoo looked at the sky. I hope so. I don't know how much longer we can hold out. Put a hand on his shoulder. Have faith, old friend. Earth has never abandoned its people before. They will not start now. On the Grand Assembly Station, the deadline arrived. Dong sat in his office, watching the clock. Jin sat beside him, nervous and afraid. "Do you think they will withdraw?" she asked. Dong shook his head. "No, they are too proud. They believe they are stronger than us. They will not back down." "Then there will be war." "Yes, there will be war." The clock struck 0. Dong received a message from Lord. It was short and full of contempt. "The Empire does not yield to threats from primitive species. Your ultimatum is rejected. If you attack us, we will wipe your kind from the galaxy." Dong read the message twice. Then he deleted it and sent a message of his own to Director Hana. "They have refused. Begin the operation." On Earth, Hana received the message. She turned to Admiral Ho, who was waiting on the bridge of the Earth's Fury. "It is time," she said. "May the stars watch over us." Ho nodded and pressed the command button. His voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. "All units, this is Admiral Ho. We have been patient. We have tried to find peace, but our enemies have chosen war. So be it. Today, we remind the galaxy why humans should never be underestimated. Today, we avenge our fallen brothers and sisters. Today, we show them what we are made of." He paused and took a deep breath. "All ships engage hyperdrives. Set course for the Operation Hammer is a go." 2,000 ships activated their engines at once. The asteroid belt lit up with the glow of hyperspace portals. One by one, the human fleet vanished into the void, racing toward the heart of enemy space at speeds that should have been impossible. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, an alarm began to sound. A massive holographic display appeared in the center of the hall, showing the movement of the human fleet. The delegates watched in stunned silence as 2,000 ships raced across the galaxy. They were moving faster than any fleet in recorded history. At their current speed, they would reach in less than 6 hours. Lord stared at the display. His face was white. His hands were shaking. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No ships can move that fast. Their engines would tear themselves apart." But the human ships kept moving. They did not slow down. They did not break apart. They just kept racing toward space, a wave of steel and fury that nothing in the galaxy could stop. The speaker watched the display with ancient eyes. "It seems we underestimated them," it said softly. "We all did." A delegate, a small being with 4 eyes, spoke up in a trembling voice. "What should we do? Should we intervene?" The speaker shook its head. "It is too late for that. This is no longer a matter for the Council. This is between thee and the humans. All we can do is watch." "And pray," added another delegate. "Pray that the humans show more mercy than they showed them." On the Earth's Fury, Admiral Ho stood at the center of his bridge. Screens surrounded him, showing the status of every ship in the fleet. Everything was working perfectly. The engines were holding. The weapons were ready. The crew was focused and determined. Hana's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, I have a message from they are asking for negotiations." Ho laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Now they want to talk. After killing 250,000 of our people, after refusing our demands. Now, when our fleet is racing toward their home, suddenly they are interested in peace. What should I tell them?" Ho thought for a moment. The image of Nova Eden burning filled his mind. The faces of the dead haunted him. Children who would never grow up. Parents who would never see their families again. "Tell them this," he said. "We gave them a chance for peace. They chose war. Now they will face the consequences of that choice. There will be no negotiations. There will be no mercy. There will only be justice." Hana was silent for a moment. Then she spoke again, her voice soft. "Understood, Admiral. I will deliver the message." The communication ended. Ho looked at the star map. In just a few hours, they would reach In just a few hours, the galaxy would learn what happens when you push humanity too far. Commander looked up at the night sky of Nova Eden. Somewhere up there, she knew, the human fleet was racing to her rescue. Somewhere up there, Admiral Ho and Director Hana were coming to deliver justice for the dead. She gathered her soldiers and survivors together. "Listen to me," she said. "I know we are tired, I know we are scared, but help is coming. I need you to hold on just a little longer. Can you do that?" The survivors looked at her with hollow eyes. They had lost everything. Their homes, their families, their future, but something in his voice gave them hope. "We can do it," said a young boy, barely 12 years old. His parents had died in the first attack. "We can hold on." Smiled at him. "Good, because when our fleet arrives, they are going to wish they had never heard of humans, and you are going to be there to see it." The survivors cheered. It was a weak sound, but it was real. Hope had returned to Nova Eden. Far away, the human fleet continued its race across the galaxy. 2,000 ships, carrying the anger and grief of an entire species, hurtling toward destiny at impossible speeds. They had started this war. Humanity was going to finish it. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and silver forests. They had lived there for millions of years. They had built great cities that touched the clouds. They had created art and music that made other species weep with its beauty. They were proud of their world. They believed it was untouchable. They were wrong. Admiral Ho stood on the bridge of the Earth's Fury as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. They appeared on the screens, surrounded by its defense fleet. 300 warships formed a wall between the humans and the planet. "Admiral, we are being hailed," reported Lieutenant 1. "The commander wants to speak with you." "Put him through." The screen changed to show an officer. He was wearing battle armor decorated with medals. His silver eyes were cold and angry. "Human commander," they said, "you have made a terrible mistake coming here. Turn back now and perhaps we will spare your ships." Ho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I am Admiral Ho of the Earth Defense Fleet. I am here to deliver justice for the attack on Nova Eden. Your ships have one chance to surrender. If you refuse, you will be destroyed." The officer laughed. "You are outnumbered, human. We have 300 ships. You have barely 2,000. "Yes," Ho said. "We do have 2,000 ships. Thank you for noticing." The officer blinked. He seemed confused by the human's calm attitude. Then his face changed as he realized what Ho had said. "Wait, 2,000, but our sensors show." "Your sensors show what we want them to show," Ho interrupted. "Human ships have stealth technology that your people have never seen. We hid most of our fleet until now, but I think it is time to stop hiding." He nodded to his crew. Across the fleet, ships began to deactivate their stealth systems. Suddenly, the sensors detected not 2,000 ships but 5,000. The human fleet was massive, far larger than anyone had expected. The officer's face went white. "This is impossible," he whispered. "You keep using that word," Ho said. "I do not think it means what you think it means. Now I will ask you one more time. Surrender or be destroyed." The officer was silent for a long moment. Sweat was visible on his blue skin. Finally, he shook his head. "The Empire does not surrender. We will fight to the death." "Very well," Ho said. "Death it is." The screen went black. Ho turned to his crew. "All ships battle stations. Target the enemy fleet. Weapons free." The human fleet moved like a single organism. Thousands of ships spread out, forming attack patterns that confused the defenses. Human tactics were strange to alien eyes. They did not form neat lines or predictable formations. They moved like wolves, circling their prey, looking for weakness. They fired first. Energy beams shot across space, targeting the human ships. Some hits landed. A few human ships exploded, but most of the beams missed their targets. The human ships were too fast, too unpredictable. Then the humans fired back. Human weapons were different from what they expected. Instead of energy beams, they used kinetic weapons. massive chunks of metal, accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic rails. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They were not designed for solid objects moving at a fraction of the speed of light. The first wave of human projectiles tore through the fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible suddenly had holes punched through their hulls. Explosions bloomed in the darkness of space. In the first 5 minutes of battle, the lost 50 ships. "Admiral, the enemy formation is breaking," one reported. "They are trying to regroup." "Do not let them," Ho ordered. "Press the attack. I want their fleet broken before they can recover." The human ships surged forward. Smaller vessels darted between the larger warships, targeting the weak points in armor. The Earth's Fury led the charge, its weapons firing in continuous volleys. The civilian population watched the battle in horror. They had always been told that the military was the strongest in the galaxy. They had always been told that no enemy could threaten there. Now they watched as human ships tore through their defenses like they were nothing. Lord was on the planet's surface in the Imperial Palace. He had been so confident just hours ago. He had been so sure that the humans would fail. Now he watched his fleet die, and fear filled his heart. "Send more ships," he ordered his aides. "Call our allies, we need reinforcements." "My lord, there is no time," an aide replied. "Our allies are days away. The humans will break through before help arrives." "Then activate the planetary defense grid. We will destroy them when they try to land." "Yes, my lord." The planetary defense grid was the pride of engineering. Thousands of weapons platforms orbiting the planet, each capable of destroying a warship with a single shot. No enemy had ever made it past the grid. They were confident it would stop the humans. But the humans had planned for this too. Captain Bai commanded a special unit called the Ghost Squadron. Her ships were small and fast, designed for stealth operations. While the main fleet kept the busy, her squadron had slipped past the battle and approached the planet from the other side. "Ghost Squadron, this is Captain Bai. Target the defense grid control stations. We need to take them down before the main fleet arrives." "Understood, Captain. Beginning attack run." The Ghost Squadron moved like shadows through space. Their stealth systems were the best humanity had ever built. The sensors could not see them at all. Bai's ship approached the largest control station. It was a massive structure floating in orbit, covered with communication dishes and sensor arrays. From here, they controlled their entire planetary defense network. "Fire," Bai ordered. Her ship released a single missile. It was small but powerful, carrying an explosive that could destroy buildings. The missile hit the control station perfectly, punching through the outer hull and detonating inside. The station exploded in a ball of fire. Around the planet, defense platforms began to shut down. Without the central control station, they were useless. "Admiral Ho, this is Ghost Squadron," Bai reported. "The planetary defense grid is down. The path is clear." On the Earth's Fury, Ho received the report with a grim smile. "Excellent work, Captain. All ships advance to planetary orbit. Prepare ground forces for landing." The space battle was almost over. The fleet had been reduced to less than 100 ships, and those were scattered and disorganized. The human fleet surrounded the planet, cutting off any escape. "Admiral, we have achieved orbital superiority," one reported. "They have no more space defenses." "Good, begin the bombardment. Target military installations only. No civilian targets." "Understood, Admiral." The human ships turned their weapons toward the planet. But instead of the massive destruction that they had unleashed on Nova Eden, the humans were precise. Each shot was aimed at specific targets: military bases, weapons factories, government buildings, the symbols of military power. On the surface, explosions bloomed across the planet. The great military academy, where generations of officers had trained, was reduced to rubble. The Imperial War Ministry, where the attack on Nova Eden had been planned, collapsed into dust. Shipyards where warships were built burned and fell. But the human ships did not touch civilian areas. Homes were safe. Hospitals were safe. Schools were safe. The humans were not here to kill innocents. They were here to break the military. Lord watched from his palace as his world's power crumbled. Everything he had built, everything his ancestors had built, it was all being destroyed. "My lord," an aide said, "we should evacuate. The humans may target the palace next." "No," said, his voice was hollow, empty. "If they want to kill me, let them. I will not run like a coward." But the humans did not target the palace. They had other plans. Admiral Ho opened a communication channel to the entire planet. "People of," he said, "I am Admiral Ho of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your government started a war with humanity. They attacked our colony without warning. They killed 250,000 innocent people. Today, we have come to hold them accountable." He paused to let his words sink in. "We are not here to destroy your civilization. We are not here to kill your people. We are here for justice. Your military installations have been destroyed. Your fleet has been defeated. The war is over." On the planet below, millions were watching and listening. Many of them had not supported the attack on Nova Eden. Many of them had not even known about it until it was over. They were ordinary people, just like the humans who had died. "We have one demand," Ho continued. "Surrender the leaders who ordered the attack on Nova Eden. Surrender them to face trial for their crimes. If you do this, we will withdraw. If you refuse, we will continue our campaign until there is nothing left of your military power. You have 1 hour to decide." The communication ended. Across, people began to talk. Some wanted to fight to the end. Some wanted to surrender. Arguments broke out in the streets and in the halls of government. Lord sat in his throne room, surrounded by his advisors. They were all arguing about what to do. "We cannot surrender to these primitives," said one general. "It would be a disgrace." "What choice do we have?" asked another. "Our fleet is destroyed. Our defenses are gone. If we do not surrender, they will destroy everything." "Perhaps we could negotiate, offer them something." "They do not want negotiations. They want justice." Listened to them argue, but he was not really paying attention. He was thinking about how this had happened. He had been so sure of victory. He had been so confident that humans were weak and primitive. He had been so wrong. The hour passed quickly. On the Earth's Fury, Admiral Ho waited for the response. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," one reported. On screen. The screen showed Lord. He looked old and tired, nothing like the confident leader who had laughed at the human ambassador just days ago. "Admiral Ho," said. His voice was flat, defeated. "The Empire accepts your terms. I will surrender myself, along with the other leaders who ordered the attack on Nova Eden." Ho nodded. "A wise decision. You will be transported to our flagship and held until a proper trial can be arranged." "What will happen to our people?" asked. "What will happen to?" "Nothing. We told you we are not here to destroy your civilization. Once justice is served, we will withdraw. Your people can rebuild their military if they wish. But I hope they will think twice before attacking humanity again." Was silent for a moment. Then he spoke again, his voice barely a whisper. "I underestimated you. We all did. I thought you were primitive, weak, easy to crush." "Many species have made that mistake," Ho said. "It is usually their last." The transmission ended. Ho turned to his crew. "Prepare a shuttle to bring the prisoners aboard, and contact Director Hana. Tell her the first phase is complete, has fallen." On Nova Eden, Commander received the news. The human fleet had defeated the help was coming. She gathered her survivors and told them what had happened. For the first time in days, they smiled. Some of them cried with relief. Others cheered and hugged each other. "The ships in orbit are withdrawing," Jinwoo reported. "They are leaving the system." looked up at the sky. The blockade that had trapped them for days was finally breaking apart. The ships were running, retreating back to their wounded empire. "It is over," she said. "We won." Jinwoo shook his head. "No, it is not over yet. The war may be ending, but the galaxy will never be the same. They will never forget this. Neither will any other species." Nodded. He was right. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had shown that they were not weak or primitive. They had shown that they could fight and win against one of the oldest and most powerful empires in known space. The universe was watching, and everyone was asking the same question. What would the humans do next? On the Earth's Fury, Admiral Ho watched as Lord was brought aboard in chains. The mighty leader looked small and broken. His silver eyes were dull, his proud posture gone. "Put him in the detention block," Ho ordered. "Make sure he is comfortable. He is a prisoner, not an animal." The guards led away. Ho turned to which showed the planet floating peacefully in space. Despite everything that had happened, the human fleet had not destroyed it. They had proven their point without committing genocide. Admiral once said, "Director Hana is on the line. Put her through." Hana's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but satisfied. "Well done, Admiral. You have accomplished what many thought was impossible." "Thank you, Director. What are our next orders?" Hana paused. "We withdraw. They have surrendered. Justice will be served through a proper trial. Our people on Nova Eden will be rescued and brought home. The war is over." "And what about the rest of the galaxy? The other species who watched this happen?" Hana smiled. It was a cold smile full of meaning. "Let them watch. Let them learn. Humanity tried to be peaceful. We tried to be good neighbors. We asked only for fairness and respect. Instead, we were attacked. We were ignored. We were treated like insects to be crushed." She leaned forward, her eyes hard. "Now they know the truth. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not primitive. And humanity does not forgive those who hurt its people. That lesson will keep us safe for generations to come." Ho nodded. "Understood, Director. We will begin the withdrawal immediately." "Good, and Admiral, thank you. You have done something historic today. You have changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever." The communication ended. Ho looked at his crew. They were tired but proud. They had fought well and won. "All ships," he announced, "prepare for hyperspace. We are going home." The human fleet began to move away from. One by one, the ships activated their engines and vanished into hyperspace. Within an hour, the sky above them was empty. The humans had come, they had conquered, and they had left. And the galaxy would never forget. The news of the defeat spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species, every world, every government heard the same story. A young species called humanity had crushed one of the oldest and most powerful empires in known space. They had done it in less than a week. They had done it with weapons and tactics that nobody had seen before. And they had done it without destroying the civilian population. On the Grand Assembly Station, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency meetings were happening constantly. Delegates who had ignored humanity for 50 years were suddenly desperate to understand them. Who were these humans? Where had they come from? And most importantly, what did they want? The speaker called for an emergency session of the full council. Every delegate was required to attend. The Great Hall was packed, more crowded than it had been in centuries. Ambassador Dong was there, standing calmly at the center platform. He looked exactly as he had before the war, calm, patient, unreadable. The speaker opened the session. "Honored members of the council, we gather today to discuss the recent conflict between humanity and the Empire. As you know, the human fleet has defeated the military and captured several of their leaders. The humans are requesting that these leaders be tried for war crimes before a council tribunal." The hall erupted in noise. Some delegates supported the idea. Others were outraged that humans would dare to demand anything from the council. "This is madness," shouted a delegate, a large being with scales and sharp teeth. "The humans attacked a sovereign empire. They should be punished, not rewarded." "They attacked first," responded a delegate. "They killed hundreds of thousands of innocent humans. What were the humans supposed to do, except their own death?" "The proper channel was the council," they argued. "The Committee on Territorial Disputes would have ruled eventually." "Eventually," they laughed bitterly. "While more humans died every day, would you wait years for a committee ruling while your people were being slaughtered?" The arguments continued. Dong waited patiently, watching the delegates shout at each other. He had expected this reaction. He was prepared for it. When the noise finally died down, he spoke. "Honored delegates, I understand your concerns. What humanity did was unprecedented. We took matters into our own hands. We bypassed the council process. We used military force to resolve a dispute." He paused, looking around the hall. "But ask yourselves this. What choice did we have? We came to this council seeking justice. We were told to wait for a committee. Meanwhile, our people continued to die. We asked for help. We were ignored." He pointed at the empty seats where the delegation had once sat. "They believed they could attack us without consequences. They believed the council would protect them. They believed that humanity was too weak to fight back." His voice grew harder. "They were wrong, and now every species in this galaxy knows the truth. Humanity will not accept injustice. Humanity will not wait quietly for death. When we are attacked, we will respond, swiftly, decisively, completely." The hall was silent. Every alien face was staring at the human with a mixture of fear and respect. "We are not asking for the council's permission," Dong continued. "The war is over. They have surrendered. We are asking for the council's help in ensuring that justice is served properly. A fair trial for the leaders who ordered the attack on Nova Eden. That is all we want." The speaker considered for a long moment. "The council will vote on this matter," it said finally, "all in favor of holding a tribunal for the leaders." Dong watched as the votes came in. To his surprise, a clear majority voted in favor. Even species that had supported were voting yes. They were scared, he realized. They had seen what humanity could do, and they did not want to be next. "The motion passes," the speaker announced. "A tribunal will be convened to try the leaders for war crimes. The humans will provide evidence. The council will ensure a fair trial." Dong bowed slightly. "Thank you, honored speaker. Humanity appreciates the council's cooperation." As he walked out of the hall, delegates parted to make way for him. Nobody wanted to stand too close to the human. Nobody wanted to attract his attention. Dong allowed himself a small smile. This was exactly what Director Hana had wanted. Not war with the entire galaxy. Just respect, just fear. On Earth, Director Hana was overseeing the rescue operations for Nova Eden. Transport ships were arriving daily, bringing survivors back to Earth. Medical teams worked around the clock to treat the injured. Counselors helped the traumatized deal with what they had experienced. Hana visited one of the refugee centers personally. She walked through the halls, talking to survivors, listening to their stories. Many of them had lost everything: families, homes, friends. The attack had taken so much from them. A young girl approached her. She was maybe 8 years old, with bandages on her arms and a haunted look in her eyes. "Are you the director?" the girl asked. Hana knelt down to be at eye level with her. "Yes, I am. What is your name?" "Mi Young. My mom said you would make the bad aliens pay for what they did." Hana felt her heart break. This child had seen things no child should ever see. She had lost so much. "We did, Ma Young. The aliens who hurt you are going to be punished. They will never hurt anyone again." Mi Young nodded slowly. "Good, because they killed my dad. He was trying to protect us when the bombs fell." Hana pulled the girl into a gentle hug. I am so sorry, Mi-young. Your father was a hero. We will never forget what he did. The girl hugged her back tightly. Hana held her for a long time, letting her cry. Later, Hana met with her advisors in the government building. The tribunal has been approved, Minister Bora reported. Lord and 15 other leaders will stand trial next month. Good, Hana said. Make sure the evidence is perfect. I want the entire galaxy to see exactly what they did. We have thousands of hours of footage, Bora replied. Survivor testimonies, communications intercepts. They planned this attack for months. They knew exactly what they were doing. Hana nodded. What about the aftermath? How are the other species reacting? Minister Sungjin answered. Mixed reactions, Director. Some species are impressed. They see us as a potential ally against their enemies. Others are terrified. They are worried we will attack them next. We will not attack anyone who does not attack us first, Hana said firmly. Make sure that message is clear. Humanity wants peace, but we will not tolerate aggression. There is something else, Sungjin added. Several species have requested formal alliances with Earth. They want to be under our protection. Hana raised an eyebrow. Under our protection, we have been in space for barely a century. Yes, Director, but we have also just defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. That means something. Many smaller species have been bullied by larger ones for centuries. They see humanity as a potential protector. Hana thought about this. It was an interesting opportunity. If humanity became a protector of smaller species, it would give them allies and influence across the galaxy. But it would also mean taking on responsibility for those species' safety. We will consider the requests carefully, she decided. We cannot protect everyone, but perhaps we can help some. On Nova Eden, Commander was overseeing the final evacuations. The planet was too damaged to support the survivors. They would all have to leave, at least until the radiation cleared and the infrastructure could be rebuilt. She walked through the ruins of the capital city one last time. The buildings were broken shells. The streets were filled with rubble. The beautiful parks and gardens had been burned to ash. Jinwoo walked beside her. It is hard to believe this was our home just a week ago, he said. It will be our home again, replied. We will rebuild. It will take time, but we will do it. Will they try to stop us? Shook her head. No, they have learned their lesson, and even if they forget, the fleet will be here to remind them. She looked up at the sky. Human ships were visible in orbit, guarding the evacuation. The sight gave her comfort. We were attacked because we were seen as weak, she said. That will never happen again. The galaxy knows what humans are capable of now. They know that attacking us is suicide. Jinwoo nodded. I almost feel sorry for them. Almost. Almost? Then I remember the children who died in the first attack, the families who were burned alive, the screams I heard when the bombs fell. His face hardened. No, I do not feel sorry for them at all. On the Grand Assembly Station, the trial preparation was. Lord sat in a holding cell, waiting for his fate. His confidence was gone completely now. He spent his days staring at the wall, barely eating, barely speaking. A guard came to his cell one day. You have a visitor, the guard said. Looked up with empty eyes. Who would want to visit me? The door opened, and Ambassador Dong walked in. He stood looking at the broken leader for a long moment. I wanted to see you before the trial, Dong said. Why? Asked. To gloat, to mock me. No, to understand. Why did you do it? Why did you attack Nova Eden? Laughed bitterly. Because I could. Because I thought you were weak. Because I believed the galaxy would let me get away with it. 250,000 people died because of your arrogance. Yes, met Dong's eyes. And now I will pay for it. Is that not enough? Dong shook his head slowly. Nothing will ever be enough. Nothing can bring back the dead. Nothing can heal the survivors, but justice is a start. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. I want you to know something, Lord. Before you attacked us, humanity was content to be a small, peaceful species on the edge of the galaxy. We had no ambitions of conquest. We just wanted to live our lives in peace. And now asked. Now we have tasted war. We have seen what we are capable of, and the galaxy has seen it too. You tried to destroy us, but instead you awakened something that had been sleeping for a long time. Dong's eyes were cold. Every species that looks at humanity now will remember what we did to you. They will remember that we came from nothing and defeated an empire. They will remember that we showed mercy when we could have shown destruction. He opened the door. You wanted to teach humanity a lesson, Lord. Instead, you taught the galaxy a lesson. Never underestimate humans. Never push them too far. Never threaten their families. He stepped out. Because when you do, they will make you regret it. The door closed, leaving alone in his cell. The former lord of the empire buried his face in his hands and wept. On Earth, the preparations for the trial were broadcast to every human world. People gathered in public spaces to watch the updates. The mood was somber but determined. Justice was coming. Director Hana addressed the public one evening. Citizens of Earth and all human worlds, she said. In 2 weeks, the trial of Lord and the other leaders will begin. They will face charges of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and unprovoked aggression. The evidence against them is overwhelming. Justice will be served. She paused, looking directly at the camera. But I want to speak about something else tonight. I want to speak about who we are as a species. The galaxy saw our strength in the past week. They saw our ships, our weapons, our tactics. They learned to fear us. But that is not the most important thing they should know about humanity. The most important thing is this. We did not destroy, we could have. We had the power to burn their entire civilization to ash, but we chose not to. Hana's voice grew stronger. We showed mercy. We targeted only military installations. We protected civilian lives. We proved that humans are not monsters. We are warriors, yes, but we are also civilized. We believe in justice, not revenge. We believe in proportional response, not genocide. That is who we are. That is what makes us human. And that is why, in the end, the galaxy will learn to respect us. Not because we can destroy them, but because we can choose not to. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people sat in thoughtful silence. The director was right. They had won the war. But the real victory was showing the galaxy that humanity could be both strong and merciful. That was a lesson worth more than any military conquest. And it was a lesson the galaxy would never forget. The trial of Lord began on a cool morning on the Grand Assembly Station. The Great Hall had been transformed into a courtroom. Seats were filled with delegates from every species in the galaxy. Screens across 1,000 worlds broadcast the proceedings live. This was the most watched event in galactic history. Lord sat in the defendant's box, wearing simple gray clothes instead of his fine robes. He looked smaller than before, diminished by his defeat and imprisonment. Beside him sat 15 other leaders, the commanders and ministers who had planned and approved the attack on Nova Eden. The speaker served as the chief judge, assisted by representatives from 7 neutral species. The humans had agreed to this arrangement. They wanted the trial to be fair, to be beyond question. Justice needed to be seen to be done. Director Hana was present, sitting in a special section reserved for human officials. Beside her sat Admiral Ho, Commander, and Ambassador Dong. They had all played their part in this story. Now they would see it end. The speaker opened the trial. We are gathered here to judge the actions of Lord and his co-defendants. They are charged with crimes against sentient beings, unprovoked aggression, and the deliberate targeting of civilian populations. These are the most serious crimes under galactic law. The prosecutor was a being from the species. They had volunteered for the role because they believed in justice, not because they had any connection to humans. That was important. The trial needed to be seen as fair. Honored judges, the prosecutor began, the evidence we will present is overwhelming. We will show that the defendants planned the attack on Nova Eden for months. We will show that they knew the colony was largely civilian. We will show that they gave orders to maximize casualties. The prosecutor activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing the attack from multiple angles, the ships appearing in the sky, the first bombs falling, buildings exploding, people running and screaming. 273,000 humans died in this attack, the prosecutor continued. Men, women, and children, families who were simply living their lives. They committed no crime. They posed no threat. They were murdered for no reason except that they considered them inferior. The images changed to show survivor testimonies. Men and women with hollow eyes telling stories of loss and horror. A mother who watched her children burn. A father who searched for days through the rubble for his wife. A young boy who was the only survivor of his entire family. In the audience, many aliens were visibly moved. Even species that had supported the before were shocked by what they saw. This was not war. This was massacre. Director Hana watched the testimonies with a hard face. She had heard these stories before many times, but they still hurt. They would always hurt. The trial continued for days. Evidence was presented. Witnesses. Communications intercepts revealed the thinking of the leadership. Lord had called humans insects and vermin. He had laughed about the casualties. He had boasted that no one would stop him. When it was his turn to speak, tried to defend himself. We were protecting our territory, he argued. The human colony was built in space we claimed. We had every right to remove them. Did you offer them a chance to leave? The prosecutor asked. They should have known better than to settle there. So the answer is no. You gave them no warning. You simply attacked. Was silent. And after the attack began, did you stop when you had achieved military objectives? Or did you continue bombing civilian areas? They were enemies, all of them. Including the children. Had no answer. The prosecutor turned away in disgust. The defense tried to argue that human retaliation had been disproportionate. They pointed out that the human fleet had destroyed most of the military. They claimed this was also a war crime. Admiral Ho was called to testify. Admiral, your fleet killed over 100,000 soldiers. How do you justify this? Ho stood straight and met the questioner's eyes. Every casualty was a military target. We did not bomb cities. We did not kill civilians. We destroyed military installations and the ships that were defending them. But the scale of destruction was necessary to end the war quickly, Ho interrupted. The longer the war continued, the more humans would have died on Nova Eden. We needed to defeat the fleet and break their military power as fast as possible. That is what we did. You could have negotiated. We tried, they refused. They laughed at our warnings. They believed they could not be defeated. Ho's voice hardened. They were wrong. The defense had no more questions. Finally, after 2 weeks of testimony, the judges retired to make their decision. The galaxy waited in suspense. This verdict would set a precedent for generations to come. Director Hana used the waiting time to meet with delegates from other species. Many of them wanted to talk about the future. They were nervous, unsure of what humanity would do next. An ambassador approached her. Director Hana, I must confess something. My species supported thee in the council. We voted against your request for help. Hana nodded. I remember. I want to apologize. We were wrong. What they did was monstrous. We should have stood against them. Why didn't you? The ambassador looked ashamed. We were afraid, they were powerful, we thought they would win, we chose the safe side. Hana considered this. And now, what side do you choose now? The right side, the ambassador said firmly. We have seen what happens when good people do nothing in the face of evil. We will not make that mistake again. Hana allowed herself a small smile. Then perhaps some good will come from this tragedy after all. The judges returned with their verdict on a bright afternoon. The great hall was packed to capacity. Every screen in the galaxy was showing the proceedings. The speaker rose to deliver the judgment. After careful consideration of all evidence, this tribunal finds the defendants guilty on all charges. A murmur ran through the hall. Lord showed no reaction. He had known this was coming. Lord is sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of release. The other defendants are sentenced to terms ranging from 50 to 100 years, depending on their level of involvement. Furthermore, this tribunal declares that the attack on Nova Eden was an act of genocide. The Empire is ordered to pay full reparations to the victims and their families. The amount will be determined by a separate commission. The speaker paused, looking around the hall. Finally, this tribunal wishes to make a statement to all species of the galaxy. What happened on Nova Eden was a crime against civilization itself. It must never happen again. Any species that engages in unprovoked attacks on civilian populations will face the same judgment. The verdicts were recorded and broadcast. Across the galaxy, people reacted. On Earth and human colonies, there was quiet satisfaction. On there was shame and acceptance. On countless other worlds, there was relief that the matter was resolved peacefully. After the trial, Director Hana addressed the full council one final time. Honored delegates, she said, humanity came to this council 2 months ago seeking justice. We were forced to take matters into our own hands. I hope that will never happen again. She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of delegates from species she had never spoken to before. Humanity does not want war. We do not want conquest. We want what every species wants, a safe place to live, a chance to grow and develop, friends and allies who will stand beside us in times of need. But let me be clear, we will never again allow ourselves to be victims. We will never again be attacked without response. Any species that threatens human lives will face the full power of our military. Any species that treats us with contempt will learn to respect us. Her voice softened slightly. We prefer the second option. We prefer friendship to fear. We prefer cooperation to conflict. The choice is yours. She stepped back from the speaking platform. For a long moment there was silence. Then, slowly, applause began to build, first from a few delegates, then more, until the entire hall was cheering. It was not universal approval. Some species still feared or resented humanity, but the majority recognized what Hana was offering, a chance at a new relationship, a chance to work together. Ambassador Dong met her outside the hall. That was quite a speech, Director. It was the truth. We need allies, not enemies. We need trade partners and friends, not endless wars. Do you think they believed you? Hana smiled. Some did. Others will need more convincing, but we have time. We have proven ourselves. Now we need to show them what kind of species we really are. 3 months later, Director Hana returned to Nova Eden. The planet was still recovering from the attack, but the rebuilding had begun. Human workers, helped by volunteers from several alien species, were clearing rubble and laying foundations for new buildings. Commander met her at the landing site. Director, welcome back to Nova Eden. Hana looked around at the construction. It looks different already. We have made good progress. The new capital will be built on the same site as the old one. The survivors insisted. Why? Smiled. They said it would be a symbol, a sign that humanity cannot be broken. No matter what happens to us, we rebuild, we survive, we go on. Hana nodded slowly. They are right, that is what makes us human. She walked through the construction site, stopping to talk with workers and survivors. Everyone she met had a story, a loss, a struggle, but also hope, hope for the future. A young girl ran up to her. Hana recognized her. It was Mi Young, the girl from the refugee center. She had grown in the past months. She looked healthier, happier. Director Hana, you came back. Hana knelt down and hugged her. Of course I did. I wanted to see how the rebuilding was going. It's going great. We're building a park where my house used to be. There's going to be a statue of my dad. Hana felt tears forming in her eyes. That's wonderful, Mi Young. Your father would be so proud of you. Mi Young grinned. I know, he's watching from somewhere. Mom says he's a star now. Hana looked up at the sky. The stars were just becoming visible in the early evening darkness. Maybe he is, she said softly. Maybe they all are. On the Grand Assembly Station, a new era was beginning. Humanity had taken its place among the major powers of the galaxy. Diplomats from dozens of species sought meetings with human officials. Trade agreements were negotiated. Military alliances were formed. Ambassador Dong worked tirelessly to build these new relationships. He was no longer the ignored representative of a minor species. He was one of the most important diplomats in the galaxy. People listened when he spoke. One evening, Jin found him in his office, looking out at the stars. Ambassador, you should rest. You have meetings all day tomorrow. Dong smiled. I was just thinking about how much has changed. A year ago, nobody in this station would give me the time of day. Now everyone wants to be my friend. Is that a bad thing? No, but I hope they are becoming our friends for the right reasons, because they respect us, because they want to work with us, not just because they fear us. Jin joined him at the window. Maybe at first it is fear, but respect can grow from that, and eventually maybe even genuine friendship. You are wiser than your years, Jin. I learned from a good teacher. Dong laughed. It was a real laugh full of warmth. He had not laughed like that in a long time. On Earth, Admiral Ho retired from active service. He had done his duty. He had led humanity to victory. Now it was time for younger officers to take over. Director Hana gave him a medal at a quiet ceremony. Just the two of them and a few close friends. You saved us, Ho. You and your fleet. I will never forget that. I did what any human would have done, Ho replied. I protected my people. What will you do now? I have a cabin by a lake on the far side of the moon. I plan to fish, read books, and watch the stars. Maybe write my memoirs if I can find the energy. Hana smiled. You've earned your rest, but don't get too comfortable. The galaxy is changing. We might need you again someday. If you call, I will answer. Until then, I plan to enjoy the peace we fought for. He saluted one last time, then walked away into the sunset. 1 year after the attack on Nova Eden, a memorial was dedicated on the rebuilt planet. A great wall of black stone, inscribed with the names of everyone who had died. 273,000 names. It stretched for kilometers across the landscape. Director Hana attended the ceremony, along with Ambassador Dong, commander, and thousands of survivors. Aliens from dozens of species were there too, paying their respects. Hana spoke to the assembled crowd. We gather here today to remember those we lost. Mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. They did not die in battle. They did not die as soldiers. They died because they were human and someone decided that human lives did not matter. She paused, looking at the endless wall of names. We proved them wrong. Human lives do matter. We showed the galaxy that we will not accept injustice. We will not tolerate those who prey on the weak. We will fight for what is right, no matter the cost. But we also showed them something else. We showed them that humans can be merciful, we can be just. We can defeat our enemies without becoming monsters. That is our true strength. Not our ships or our weapons, our humanity. She placed a flower at the base of the wall. Rest now, our fallen brothers and sisters. You are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten. And the world you died for is being rebuilt. Better, stronger, ready to face whatever the future brings. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. Then, slowly, people began to walk along the wall, finding the names of people they had lost, touching the cold stone, saying goodbye. Mi-young was there with her mother. They found her father's name together. He would have loved this, her mother said through tears. He always wanted to see the colony grow. It will grow, Mom, Mi-young said. I'll make sure of it. When I grow up, I'm going to be an architect. I'm going to build beautiful buildings that everyone will love. Her mother hugged her tight. Your father would be so proud. Above them, the stars shone down. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching and learning that humanity was here to stay. They had tried to destroy them. They had failed. The Council had tried to ignore them. They had failed. The universe itself had tried to stop them. From the first single-celled organisms struggling to survive in ancient oceans to this moment, standing among the stars. They had survived everything. And they would keep surviving. Because that was what humans did. They endured, they adapted, they overcame. And they never, ever gave up. The new chapter in galactic history had been written, humanity's chapter, and it was only the beginning.